Hi class. Today I'm going to show you how to get started on the first phase of project number 2 in 3D design. We'll be working with our Bristol board to make the first phase. All right. Your shapes will look different than these. You may use some of the same ones, but we'll go over that in a little more detail after I finish this quick demo on how to build these boxes. Your tools are X-Acto blade, right? A sharp one. Get replacement blades because you will need them. Your tape is the green magic tape by Scotch. It is matte finish. The red is glossy and the blue is drafting tape, so it doesn't stick quite as well. I do have a white plastic eraser. Comes in helpful if I get things dirty. I like to use a mechanical pencil because the lead is the same thickness all the way down. If you use a traditional pencil, as the lead wears out, the line you draw becomes thicker and it becomes less precise. And this is about being precise, so you want to either sharpen your pencil a lot or use a mechanical pencil. Metal ruler. I also have a triangle that will help. I was able to get the 3 shapes that you just saw out of one sheet of 19 by 24 Bristol paper, and this is what's left. You can kind of figure out the shape. My largest shape is here, and this is the medium shape, and my smallest shape is down here. So you can get all of these shapes out of one sheet of, I believe it's 19 by 24 Bristol paper. And that will be all the Bristol paper you need for the class, yes. So I'm going to make a 3 by 3 inch cube. I'm going to tilt the screen down some so you can see what I'm doing. You will also want to use a cutting mat or a piece of cardboard or something underneath what you're working on so that you can cut without harming your tabletop. I am going to use the ballpoint pen so that the lines I make are hopefully dark enough for you to see. Now, for the 3 by 3 inch cube, I need one square here, another square here, and another square here. I'm going to be 3 inches, 3 inches, and 3 inches. So I'm going to line the 9 up with the edge of the paper here, and then count back 3 to 6, count back 3 again to 3, and back 3 to 0, and make those marks. Now I can take my square and I'm lining up one of the lines on the square with the edge of the bottom edge of the paper. If I get them perfectly in line with this first mark, I know that the line I am drawing is perpendicular to the edge of the page. I'm going to try to make your marks the same way every time. That way, you're consistent. I'm not coming in at an edge or at another angle that way, straight up and down and pull. Same thing with your X-Acto blade. I will go over that momentarily. So I know I'm at the 1, and I know this needs to be a 3 inch box. So I'm going to go up to 4 and put a little mark there. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing I just did there. Take your time. This is not supposed to happen quickly. I am going at a comfortable pace for myself. I have done this several times. I still make mistakes on occasion. Hopefully less and less the more and more I do it. So I put another hash mark there. So that's 1 square. I think you guys can see this. Yes, looks like you can. Now I know this is the side of another square, so I'm going to do it one more time over here. I don't have to do it over here because I have the edge of the paper, and I know that this corner is a predictable 90-degree corner. It is a stock edge. Okay. So I'm at the 1, going up to the 4, because 1 plus 3 is 4, so I know I have a 3-inch box here. So you see the shorter line and then the 2 lines that are the same size, and then I have the edge over here. What I'm going to do is measure up 3 inches. I can use my ruler or the triangle. It doesn't have to be, it can be either tool. They both work in this situation. As long as I'm on the 1 and marking the 4, or the 0 and marking the 3, or the 5 and marking the 8, as long as it's the right increment of 3. Now, what I'm going to do is draw out the last lines I need for the first 3 walls of my 6-sided cube. There. Solid line. I am dashing this line because I don't want to cut it. I want to slightly score it so that I fold it. And I will also want to score this one and this one. Since I'm using a ballpoint pen, I forgot to score these and leave gaps so it's perforated. I put the marks there. This is going to be the interior of the box, so these marks will actually disappear to the inside, and this will just help me remember to not cut it and only score it, and that will make sense in a moment. We need to draw out the rest of our cube. A little bit of math involved. I'm lining up my ruler right next to this line, and as long as it's consistent, it is a 6.5-inch line. I know that 6.5 inches from here to here, all the way up to the length I need it, is going to be parallel to this line and perpendicular to the bottom. So I don't need to measure again from over here. Since I already have this line and I follow it, it should be accurate. Now I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, and they're 3 inches each. So 4 times 3 is 12. I'm on the 12 down here. So I start at the 0 and draw my line. I'm going to mark the 3 and the 6. The 9 is already marked. We do the same thing over here. Marking the 3 again and the 6. And in fact, I'm going to mark the 0 just so I have a reference point to then draw across the top and close off my box. These are perforated. I don't want to cut them, I just want to. These need to be very precise, so make sure that your ruler is where you want it before you draw your line. And even more importantly, make sure your ruler is where you want it before you cut your line. You may have heard the cliche, or I don't know, woodworker's adage, measure twice and cut once. That way, oops, see, I'm talking, and that should be a perforated line. I forgot to perforate it. So now I know I'm going to score it here, 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 and here. Everything else gets cut out. Now, I prefer to score before I cut it out. It's just easier that way. So I also have more reference points to make sure that my ruler is straight and where it needs to go. Lining things back up just for scoring this time. So I'm scoring this edge here and only that bottom 3 inches. I'm just placing my blade next to the ruler and pulling back one time, hardly any pressure, very little pressure. I'm not trying to cut through the paper. It is actually just kind of cutting through the top layer of paper. That is so we can control how it folds. If you don't do this, you are going to have a difficult time folding things accurately. There are other methods, like putting it on the edge of a table and folding it along a line, but I find that that does not have as high of a success rate as this. And again, you can see I'm holding down here with my fingers really tightly so this doesn't slide, but I'm not holding the X-Acto blade tightly at all. Now, everything is scored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. And now I can cut. So, a great rule of thumb, it looks like, okay, I hope I was still recording. We'll find out. The screen went blank, so I hope I was still recording. Now, putting the pin down, picking up the blade. You're always told in Boy Scouts never to cut towards you. Well, that's true. You don't want to cut towards you with the blade, the point of the blade cutting towards you. That's just, it's awkward. It is not going to work at all as far as cutting this stuff precisely. But you do need to pull the blade towards you, just in the other direction, with the blade facing the other way. So the blade is facing away from you, but you need to place your ruler on the line, put your X-Acto blade next to the ruler, kind of like you're drawing that line again. I'm not angled at the side or this way, I'm straight up and down, and I can kind of tilt towards myself if that's more comfortable, but it's not necessary. And then I am pulling towards me, and I like to go twice just to make sure. Now I am holding the ruler down quite a bit, and if you see this has a cork back, that keeps it from sliding around. If you happen to have a ruler that doesn't have a cork back on it, you should, hang on, get some blue tape or masking tape of some sort and run a couple of pieces down the back like this. Say this is the back of your ruler. If you put a piece of tape, that should be all you need, on the back of your ruler, that will help it not slide around as much, okay? So the last thing you want to do is have your ruler slide out on you while you are making a cut. That could, well, the least that's going to happen is that you either break your blade and ruin your paper and your cut. Worst thing that's going to happen is that you end up cutting yourself by accident. So make sure that your ruler is not going to move. So I've cut that one piece. Now I have this long cut and this long cut, then two shorter cuts, one more short cut here. A good rule of thumb, move your paper if you can, rather than yourself. Don't try to cut across like this. It is not accurate. You are more prone to making a bevel happen, and it's harder to work laterally across. Always try to cut like this. So, I'm setting my ruler up. I'm not going to cut this side yet. I am going to cut this one. And when you have an interior corner, like we have here, it's easier to start in the corner than it is from the edge. The reason why is because if you start from the edge and stop here, it's harder to tell where you are in that corner. So if you start in the corner, it's much easier to identify. And it's easier to be accurate. I am standing, I'm not sitting. It depends on your table, but I do highly recommend trying to stand. It's more accurate. You're able to get over top and see things from a bird's eye view, and that is beneficial. So I turn the paper around so that I can cut from the corner and come back, so you can see everything. set up, making the cut. Now this is something that most people don't really realize. I'm spending 5 to 10 seconds setting up my ruler. And then, how long does it take me to actually cut? Maybe 2 seconds. So, setting up the tools is the part that takes the longest. And it should. It's supposed to take the longest. That is what helps you stay precise. So that is why you should be taking a lot of time to make sure that nothing is skewed, everything is drawn out the correct way, etc. Now, I am free except for this last piece at the top. I guess it's not the top, it's just the end of the box. So, have patience. Understand that having patience will yield a better result. There, now it's free. Slide that over here. And because I scored everything, it's really easy for me to fold things and see, okay, that's pretty accurate. You may want to wash your hands. I know that I am, after I work for a couple of hours in my own studio or drive my car or go out in the world, my fingers just like to leave fingerprints and make things dirty. So I'm folding things over really well, but you can see that it is a clean edge. It is not a wavering or unfolded edge. It is cleanly and accurately folded. Do the same thing here. Looks good. Same thing here. Be gentle with the paper. You have to be firm but finesse, gentle. You can tear it pretty easily or wrinkle it pretty easily. This is not going to hold up a car. This is going to just be a volume, a box. So now we have our box, right? So, and you take your tape. I want you to, use enough tape, but don't go overboard. If you can, the way I like to use it is, I've got about a 2-inch length here, and it's cut cleanly. I'm using the tape dispenser, but as long as it's coming off clean, that's okay. I am placing it on the edge so that I'm splitting the distance from here to here, and I have half of it still exposed. And that will allow me to bring it over here, line everything up, fold it over, and from the inside, I can press down and the tape holds. And you work around the entire thing until it's closed. I'm gonna come over here to this side. And so forth. So I'm not going to continue taping all of this together. I think you understand what I'm talking about. That would come out pretty clean, and that's a 3 by 3 inch cube. That would be about a mid-size piece, I think, because I'm asking you to make, again, 3 different shapes at 3 different sizes. I know I put kind of guidelines of 10 inches and 1 inch, 10 inches for the largest piece and 1 inch for the smallest piece, but those are just rough guidelines. It's really more about the volume of the objects you're making. Now, I'll bring this thing over here. It's not quite complete because I haven't glued it down permanently. But what I want you guys to see is my largest volume, which is a rectangle, is completely elevated. My next largest volume is this cube. It's a 4 by 4 inch cube. Nope, that's 3 by 3 also. A 3 by 3 inch cube. And my smallest, there it is, that pyramid here. So it's 1.5 on one side and 2 on another. As you can see, oops, that's okay. It's not falling. It wants to fall, but it's not quite there. That's the precariousness we're after. It is sitting on the edge of the cube and the point or tip of the pyramid. And the way I suggest going about this, pull these two apart. Now, deal with your two smallest ones first. If you can figure out how to make them sit according to the parameters in the assignment, you have 4 guidelines essentially to deal with in terms of the composition. You want to not place things parallel to each other or perpendicular. So if you look at the relationship between the bottom of this cube and this pyramid, so here's the pyramid. I must have left my email open because it keeps telling all of us that I have a message. But this is not bisected perfectly. You have a unique triangle showing here and a unique triangle showing here. So that is not necessarily logical. You are creating illogic or more or less a chaotic situation while involving these highly ordered forms. So they're not stacked, as most people might think about stacking objects like this. That is boring. It becomes more interesting when you can figure out how to make it not sit in a predictable way. So this one is sitting on, again, this is to reiterate, a point and an edge. So you get this done, and then take your larger piece and figure out, okay, does it work there? Does it work there? Use tape loops and things like that. I still have some tape left over here. This stuff will pull off very easily. Once you've figured out your composition, you will be able to then glue it down in a way that, and look, there it goes. So the largest one is elevated. I have tension between in this area. If you look around the backside, it feels like this whole composition might just fall over. And in that sense, you have evoked tension in the composition. So, hope this helps. You guys can make these 3 shapes if you want to. You can also make your own. But just so you understand that, this is 6 inches, it's not 10. But it is by far a much larger volume, twice the size, in fact, of this middle size. Oops. And then the smallest one is much smaller than the middle size. So that's what I mean by 3 different sizes and 3 different shapes. Keep it simple, because the second phase, the cardboard where things slot together, if you have a complex object, it's going to be more difficult. So please keep it simple. All right. Good luck.